Well, hello, I'm Julio Ulises Coruña Prado, and this is my evidence to state feedback in discrete time. Well, first of all, we need to define what is a discrete time state-space model and how does it differ from a continuous time state-space model. Well, a discrete time state-space model is a digital representation of a continuous time signal, and it samples every time t that we decide. And well, the main difference between continuous and discrete time state-space model is on how many times there are samples of the system. In a continuous time state-space model, the samples are every instant of time, and in a discrete state-space model, it's every certain amount of time that we decide. And well, another difference is that in a continuous model, we use the S-plane to view the poles and the zeros, and in a discrete model, we use the set plane. And well, what is meant by state feedback with observer? Well, the observer helps us estimate a variable when there is no sensors that can tell us the real information because it is impossible or too difficult to measure. This by using the output data to compute input data. So in other words, if we have some system and in that system we have a variable that we can't measure because, as I said, it's impossible, too difficult, or even too expensive to measure, the observer helps us know the value of that variable by using the output data to tell us how the system is behaving. And with this, we can input new data that will make an error, and that error will tell us like how the system will be behave in order to complete some performance requirements. And well, what is the procedure and which MATLAB functions are used when designing a state feedback controller with observer? Well, first of all, we need to design the block diagram of the system. Then we need to make the transformation to make it a state space model. Finally, we add the observer and estimate the error of that observer. And the MATLAB functions we can use are OBSV to check observability, CTRV to check controllability, place that help us create the state feedback gain matrix, and SS that help us generate the state matrix of the system. And well, how should the closed loop poles be chosen when working with discrete time systems? First of all, we need to know that there are four things that we need to check out. These are damping, velocity, oscillations, and stability. And well, the damping, we need to make sure that the closer the poles are to the origin, horizontally speaking, the higher the damping ratio will be. So we need to define how well we want the system to be damped. The velocity, um, we know that if the poles are nearby the origin, the response will be fast, but if we approach set equal to 1, it will be slower. So if the poles are very close to the unit circle, it will be slower. In the oscillations, we need to try to maintain the same oscillations of the system and not to be like in some different frequencies. And in stability, we need to make sure that all the poles stay within the unit circle, because if the poles are outside the unit circle, the system will be unstable. And well, if they are right on the unit circle, it will be critically damp and all of that. And well, for my choice of poles for this evidence, well, this is my pole zero map without making adjustments from the previous evidence. And as we can see, there are 3 poles and zeros that cancel, and there are 2 poles almost in the unit circle. So by making some experiments, I finally conclude that I had to make it 0.10 closer to the origin to to fulfill that performance requirements. And as we can see in these graphs, well, in the body diagram, we can see that almost at -3 dB, it's more than 5 radians per second. That is the performance requirement. And in the for the settling time, it's less than 2 seconds. It's like 1.6 almost. So the performance requirements are fulfilled. And well, what I feel is the most valuable knowledge I have gained in this course. It's the ability to design a control system in a discrete or a continuous time. Well, at the beginning of this course, I was very afraid on this subject because I have heard a lot of like not awful but scary things about this because they say that it's very hard to learn, and well, certainly it was. But I think that um, I am living with some knowledge about how to design these control systems, and I feel more confident on how to design this. Also, the ability to move the pulse in a certain way, like I did uh, in the previous slides. Well, I have to move the pulse like closer to the origin to fulfill some performance requirements, and I think this is very helpful because if I have another situation that I'm asking, I was asked to fulfill some performance requirements. I can make that by only moving some poles and all of that. And also the ability to use tools like MATLAB or Simulink. This was very helpful because of all the scary things that I was told about this subject. Um, I thought that it would be harder to develop these control systems, and knowing that I can do these control systems with tools like MATLAB or Simulink, it's very helpful, and I think it will be very helpful in the future when I have to design some of these control systems. And thanks.